My neighbor.
I see Nathan Dion, my brother.
He's my neighbor, Gladys.
Oh,
I
yeah.
came on for the neighborly love. Not for Gladys. I came for you.
By the way, he really did. He came for you.
Hi, Michelle.
So we're just gonna wait like one more minute and then we'll start.
Okay. Hi, Sarita.
Hi, Sophia.
What's doing? I see Annie's on
You
also.
just unmuted to say hi when you said hi. That's so
I
funny.
see your sister's on.
She's
I think that's Andy.
incognito, I guess.
Yeah, I guess this is how we connect these days.
We're psyched to see you.
I'm excited.
No, you can watch. Come.
It's online Home Depot. You can certainly look to get you started online. We'll pay freight so you can get the FOB quotes from your warehouse in California.
Hi, Soph.
Hi, Lane.
HomeDepot.com, wait there.
Nice to see you.
You too.
Long time.
No,
Hi, Soph.
Hi, Renee.
Home Depot Canada.
These are all my women who do it all.
That's what she. This is she can, no? What are you talking about? I didn't see it. You see yours?
What are we waiting for?
I don't know, whenever they're ready to start.
We're just waiting for more people to come on.
Let's start the preliminary.
Okay. We can start the preliminary. Hi, Renee.
Hi, Glad, we're on time, 8 o'clock. I miss everybody.
I miss you.
So easy to be on time with Zoom.
I know. When you finish dinner.
You know,
So easy.
so some people need a few minutes just to get acclimated. The number, the password.
I know.
Wanna go to another room?
Okay.
Oh, wow, it's a family affair, Sarita. Your mom, too.
Hi, Mom.
Sophia, in the meanwhile, are you open
Yes, we are open.
in the center?
No, we have a temporary location on McDonald
us.
Avenue across the street from Kosher Corner.
The guy where you drop
Yeah.
whatever?
Thank God for that.
Okay.
And I'm opening Deal now.
I want to
Got that
come in.
Question. I think we should start the preliminaries. It's 8:04.
Let's go for it.
8:03.
Yeah, it's 8:03, so we should start. Yeah.
Hi, Julie.
Okay, I'll start.
It's Linda.
Hi. Okay.
You did it?
Hi.
Hello? Do you hear me? It's Linda.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we hear you, Linda, but we're going to mute everyone's phones.
Yeah, thanks, because I didn't hear you before.
Okay.
Okay, you hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay. Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Julie Chehebar. I work at the center. We have been doing many of these Stoop talks. Some of you may know that we've done it for the men, and we decided and we realized that the women aren't getting enough credit in the community now that we're all home, and mothers have kids at home running around, husbands not at work, and it was, it's very challenging. And especially for the women who are working moms and have to now balance both with maintaining their own houses plus maintaining their businesses while businesses aren't doing so great right now. So we thought of doing a Zoom for a Stoop talk, and what better speaker would be Sophia Cohen, those of you who may know her as Urban Pops. She is very inspiring. She has been all these years, for many years now. She started from the bottom, worked her way up, and to me, she's one of my inspirations, and to a couple of others. So Gladys is going to be our interviewer, so I'm gonna give it over to Gladys.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Julie, thank you for putting this together. We spoke earlier how refreshing it is to know that you, Sabrina, Sari, Julie, I see you on the Zoom, but our center family is nonstop looking for ways to connect and to engage one another in the community. These Stoop Talks have been phenomenal. And I think, yes, maybe some cater to some female, some male, but overall the skills, the lessons, and the camaraderie that we're learning is really for everybody, every age group, and everybody who wants to learn. Our goal tonight is to share Sophia's story, Sophia's journey, and take as much as you can out of it. She's a phenomenal person. I'm looking forward to learning. I heard so much about her. I'm sure I don't know many of the details. But what I do know is that she's a hero. She's an inspiration. So without further ado, it gives me a great honor, I'm a little bit trembly, to introduce Sophia. I will say, please everybody keep yourselves on mute, and we will have an opportunity for question and answer. I think to be the most organized and in order to be so clear, everybody speaking, is put your question in the chat. Julie will recognize your question, and when we have the Q&A, either she'll call on you to ask the question or she'll ask the question for you. So let's keep everything on mute so we could all hear this wonderful, phenomenal icon of a person, Sophia Cohen, founder and CEO of Urban Pops.
Hi, everybody.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm 40. I think that's a big deal. I run Urban Pops. It started about 8 years ago, right when I was first pregnant with my son. Building up this business was a very amazing journey for me and my family, my husband. We started out with 2 molds and a small freezer, and worked our way up. We have several stores now. We deliver, we ship around the country. We deliver to many different locations in the tri-state area, and I have 6 children. So when I started, I was pregnant with my 4th. Many of you that are watching knew me when I first was pregnant and you were calling me. And I was pregnant with my 4th, and I kept going. That was definitely a challenge on its own, but you know, you can't stop that life to pursue this life. And that's where I'm at right now.
Fantastic. You met your husband. So how many years are you married?
I'm married. We're now 15 years. I'm married 15 years. When I met my husband, I was working as a sales girl at M. Hittery. I was there for quite a while. I had a great boss who let me be who I was and understood the things that I wasn't so good at. He let me thrive in the areas where I was really, really strong. I was a very personable salesperson. I was willing to travel. My father was my mentor, so all of my sales skills come from him, no doubt. And my mother was my supporter. As long as I gave her my itinerary when I would travel, she let me travel. She made sure I called her from every stop. And I traveled. I was a traveling sales girl, and I made a lot of sales. I hit a several $1 million mark in my second or third year there. And it was really eye-opening. My work ethic is very, very important to me, and I was able to translate that into this business. So Gary and I met 15 years ago, and then whenever I stopped working at M. Hittery, you get a little bit ideal feeling. I don't know. It was a big question whether I should stop in sales. I moved through quite a few different jobs. And we found ourselves years later, you know, a little bit on the struggling end, but making ends meet, you know, as new couples do. They have to realize what like young life is about: responsibilities, bills, school, rent, all of those things.
Did you have continued education?
I
know-
did actually. I did. After high school, I studied in early childhood for a few years, but I have an inkling to work. I'm good. I have, like, my father was like, many of you knew my father. He was a fabulous salesperson, and he had that joie de vivre. Like, he really lived through his work, and I ended up going back. I wanted to work. I just wanted to work. My parents, I made my own decisions. And I started out in retail. I started out in Hershey's by my father when I was like 15. And I started out working. I worked.
Right, you had a lot of experience. You did dabble a little bit in education. And now we want to know your story. So now you're married and you're on
married. I was working at the time. I was working a part-time job in the city selling catering for Circa to like law firms, corporations, companies, calling them up, making catering menus, whatever events I could get.
You dabbled in a little bit of things, but the
Dabbled in a lot of things.
The overall skill was in your gab. You were good at sales.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
now you're married, and the decision to work, not work.
No, I worked. Now I really didn't. There was no decision. I worked. I needed to work. I got married. I worked. I went through several different jobs. I had a few children on and off. I worked for Joey Towel. I sold accessories. I traveled to the West Coast. You know, always managing also to fit in small pockets of enjoyable moments. So if I was in sales and I was traveling to the West Coast, I made sure to find a fun hotel. You know, like, you had to like keep the fun. It's a very important thing when you're working to know how to keep the fun and keep it enjoyable. I didn't just travel and was a shahata. Like, I traveled and I enjoyed. If I had a long business trip, I would corner off a weekend. This is before I was married. I would corner off a weekend and spend the weekend in California and drive the coast, have my friend meet me. You know, like, I would find ways to enjoy what I was doing because that really kept me going. Yeah. So I went through, you know, a few different jobs. I couldn't keep up the travel. It was on and off. I worked for different companies, you know, but having babies, being pregnant, keeping up that travel, the working in a showroom, and I had 2 children and I was pregnant with my third on the way. I realized at that point that like a full-time job for me wasn't working out. I needed to be home for my kids. It was a very big stress. So I ended up going home and finding a part-time job through SBH with Circa, with Ricky. And when he had Circa, Ricky Cohen had Circa at one point, and another great boss. I was always very blessed. Also, a big deal is to make sure you're working for good people, because good people, you're good. You have to pick the best people to work for.
Very important.
I worked for him and I worked part-time. While I was working part-time, we were still struggling. My husband was also working different jobs, trying to find his niche. The markets changed, things changed, sales industry changed. You know, and that's, I think, a struggle the community still sees today, is that now they're getting better, but there was a while where the men had to find a different niche. There were only so many wholesale companies, you know, doing it, and only so many accounts for them to sell to, you know, all these men that were used to working in sales. So we were at a point where we were struggling, and whatever, at that time I was dabbling in making fresh, fun things for my kids, making my own mayonnaise, making my own ketchup, making my own ice cream cakes, making my own whatever. I don't know. I had kids. I was trying to.
How did you know how to do that? How did you know how to make your own mayonnaise? And
the internet existed back then, right? It was only 8 years ago.
Right.
I tried it out. Recipes, friends, whatever it was. I liked also. You know, we also go up and down in our lives of, oh, can I keep up with the organic? Can I keep up with the non-GMO? Can I keep up? At the time, I was really very staunch in all of the ingredients that my kids were consuming. genetically modified, natural. I wanted something fresh and natural. And so I made ices. It was just, I made ices for the kids. We were not going to deal for the summer. And I was trying to find a good snack for my kids to enjoy whenever without caring, right? No Bisley, no super snacks, no ice, no junk, no ice cream truck. I didn't want to deal with that. I wanted something healthy. I didn't care. So I found ices and I made them. And then,
So the ices, you started to make the ices for health reasons.
just for health, just for
Not
my kids.
thinking it's going to be a
No.
business.
No, not at all. But, you know, always knowing in my mind that just generally, like the work ethic thing for me is always at the forefront of my mind. Always knowing that there's an opportunity somewhere, right? So you never know where the next big thing will come. Not that that was my mindset, but
So now you're making ices. It's the summertime.
it's the summertime. I'm making ices. My sister, no, actually it was around Shavuot time. We had a scary heat wave about 8 years ago on Shavuot where there was fire coming out of the manholes. I don't know if any of you remember it, but it was like a ridiculous heat wave. I think we had a blackout. I think it was possible we had a blackout. And I made lemon ices and I saved the lemon skins and we put them in and I had my 15 people at my table for the holiday and I pulled them out and everybody was like, that's it, no other dessert. No one cared about any other dessert. And we kept serving them till we finished. And my sister, I really have to credit her big because she was like, you have to sell these. You have to sell these. You have to sell these. At the time, it was just ices. There was no pops. And she actually started helping me. Alexis really platformed me into doing it because I was like, how do you sell something frozen? I have a small ice box of a freezer.
Right.
She was in the freezer at the time. I think we started, I used her kitchen in her house. She wasn't there. And she came in and we worked together. I sold pints and quarts. And over the summer we did it, but it was, I was on and off with it. It was not so easy. I couldn't figure it out, but I had an idea in my mind that I wanted to, it was a $20 quart for a chocolate sorbet, 20, 25. And I wanted to, wait, hold on a second. Ruby, can you lower that, please? Sorry. This is
Multitasking.
Oh, yeah. I was going to hide in my closet, but I said to Gary, I really just want to sit at the,
They'll still find you, Sophia. It doesn't work.
I know. So I kept thinking in my mind, like a $25 quart of chocolate, you know, what if not everyone likes chocolate? Wouldn't it be so nice if everybody had a different option? And really, I also always say that like Mishamayim, I had an idea of what it should look like. I was like, wouldn't it be amazing to offer like pops, like popsicles, different colors, something visually beautiful. I don't know. I actually envisioned the bucket that I always sold most of you. You'd open the top and it was like, oh, that's beautiful. You know, all the colors, what's in here. I really, really saw that very clearly. That was awesome. And so I started to source for this bucket that I envisioned and source for all of the materials that I needed. And it was actually Sukkot of 2012. My husband was taking down the sukkah and I said to him, do you think we could buy molds for ice pops? I really want to buy molds. I want to make ice pops. I really want to try this. And I wanted to buy a few cookbooks and some molds. And believe it or not, like at the time, after the end of Sukkot, by us, money was very, very tight. And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, I'm buying it. I want to buy it. And he was like, okay, so buy it. And my neighbor gave me 2 molds, same mold, the Norpro mold, which I ended up having maybe, I don't know how many did we have? 60 of at the end, 80. We had a lot of molds. 100. And I bought the molds. But really, you have to understand that I was in a place where I had to say, I want to buy this mold. Like it was $30. And it was like okay. And I bought the molds, plus so I had 4 molds, right? 40 pops. There's 10 pieces in each. You know, you have to figure these things out. How am I going to do it? I was working my job, so I would go to work in the city, and I would come home, and I would chop up the chocolate, and I would blend and do, and Gary would come home from his job, and then I would be like, eat your dinner, put the kids to bed, and meet me in the kitchen, because I need your help. And luckily for me, I'm blessed with a husband that was like, okay, ma'am. And he met me in the kitchen. And the way it worked was I loved the idea. At the time we started on Instagram, right? So Instagram was it's one of the questions you asked, how did I start? Instagram was that big thing. Right now, I'm sure there's another big thing I can't keep up anymore. 40 means I cannot keep
Still
up.
pretty big, you know. Unless you're
And Instagram, though, at the time was like new and awesome. And I started on there.
and free.
And free. Yeah, free. I'd be honest with you. One of the questions should be, how much have I spent on advertising in the past 7 years? I really don't advertise. I thank God, Baruch Hashem, there's resources for us. I don't advertise. When I have to put one ad in a newspaper for the holidays, okay, but I don't advertise. I don't spend thousands of dollars on advertising. Maybe I should, but I'm thrifty like that. I don't want to spend the money.
Come up with your you're in the middle of your story, but you because you're saying advertising. How did you come up with your design?
At the
Or is
time,
that
there was
later
no
on?
design. At the time, it was, when I first started, it was called Urban Frost. It was a court, remember? So I came up with the name. Who helped me? Shirley Catton. We were chatting over, and she's like, I love the word urban. We were on the phone. I remember it was like I was sitting on the floor in my kitchen. It was dark. I don't know. It was not late, and I was trying to figure out a name, and she goes, I love the word urban. And I go, oh, I love the word urban. You know, like Urban Outfitters, like it was a very cool word. And then right when we transitioned to Pops, it was like, oh, Urban Pops. That was perfect fit. So I ended up putting out a flavor list every week and just making, right? I didn't have that many molds. So how many Pops could I have possibly made? So my startup, you had asked me how much my startup investment was. It was really week to week. One small investment kind of, Baruch Hashem, kind of led into another. I started with what I bought in fruit and in ingredients, and then I went on from there. And we started packaging them, and every week I would get these orders, and it was really amazing. Word of mouth is really an incredible thing for people to really spread your name out. It means a lot when you give out a referral. When you tell someone I had the best dessert ever, you don't realize what you're doing. Well, it really made us blow up. And that was November. And so we went from through that entire winter. Gary would come home, eat dinner, work with me through the night. And I was getting more and more pregnant. And I remember my aprons at the end of the night. I have a picture somewhere of our aprons, of my apron, right? My belly, raspberry, red, blueberries, chocolates. It was like splatter paint. And we would literally collapse in bed at 3 a.m. Like,
Wow.
Collapse in bed at 3 a.m. Then I have to wake up the kids for school, right? And he has to go to work. God bless him.
And you have to go. You're still working.
I was part-time working. So there were some days where they got it in, and some days I had to get up and go to work, but it was an easy job. The job was very mobile. It was a mobile job for me. So like if I needed to go in, I went in at 10. So I got my morning. I had to go to work because you have to figure it out with kids.
And you're trying flavors. You don't have set recipes yet.
Right. No. All developing flavors, developing bases, figuring it out, mixing, tasting. Gary has a fabulous palate. Anybody that we knew, we would give them to taste. Oh wait, what am I doing? Oh no, it's Daddy. Here, Beverly. Sorry, my daughter wants to join the Zoom.
Okay.
So I have to give her the Zoom info. It's on my Instagram. So,
So now, were you a foodie? How do you create flavors? How do you know what you want
who
to?
doesn't like good food? I mean, we're all foodies. The whole community is foodies. We're a community of foodies. We
Right.
don't like anything basic. We like something that tastes amazing. You know, we like things that that are interesting. We sit around the table talking about different ideas all the time, right? I mean,
Right. Who would
one of your questions is what?
Who would you say was your how do you say, your motivator? Like, who kept encouraging you? Because I'm sure along the way you have doubts. Could it sell? Is it worth it? What kept you going?
You know what, Baruch Hashem, I kept me going. My parents let me, I had support. I had amazing support. You need support. You know, I couldn't have done it now. I don't know, thank God I miss my parents. I don't have them now. There's no, the support was major. My mother was like, everyone was loving them. It was delicious. And the sales were my encouraging factor. The idea behind it all was, if you're doing well with something, just don't stop. Like, don't stop to take a break. Don't sleep. You know, I don't know, right? The older generation always said you sleep when you die, right?
Right.
What?
Keep the momentum going.
So, keep the momentum going. Ride that wave. There would be nights.
Did you ever feel like, oh my gosh, this is not going to work, I better stop?
No, I felt like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Just how am I going to do this? Like, how, you know, I listen, I see all your faces. A lot of you are my customers. You remember picking up from me Fridays, and I'd be like a dish rag falling on my face, getting to your car to bring you your order. I couldn't wait for Friday night. Friday nights, my parents would be at the Shabbat table. Gary would be asleep at the table. I would be asleep on the couch, and they would put the kids to bed. We were exhausted, but so you're exhausted.
So you're exhausted. Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going. There would be times where I remember
Did you make an early
the
mistake?
clock. Mistakes? Yeah, whatever flavor. If you're talking about in terms of flavors, anything that didn't, you know, we just moved on to the next flavor. I have over 90 flavors, 90 flavors that I could rotate. And then of course there's the flavors that we just killed after the first 2 weeks, where we were like, yeah, no, don't bother. This is not up to par. But definitely mistakes. I once sold, we squeezed Meyer lemon juice, and I was so tired, right? We used to make the solutions, big buckets of solutions. Those buckets I would sell, and I'd make solutions.
Yes.
A dozen buckets of each flavor, let's say. One night I put into the molds straight lemon juice. I sold straight lemon juice. So it was Shabbat, and I'm eating the pop, and I'm like, oh, I love Meyer lemon. I can't wait. And I'm eating the pop, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is straight lemon juice. I put out a fun post, you know, something funny. I wrote something funny, and we made plenty of mistakes, but when you're starting out, you have to roll through the mistakes and whatever, just keep going.
So you keep going. You and I spoke earlier, and I mentioned to you there was a story that I heard you say. Do you want to share it with the audience today?
So that story actually took place before, I imagine before Urban Pops. It took place before Urban Pops. It was a great story. I mean, but regardless, it's a great story. It just, the reason I had spoken about it on Instagram was because it came up now during this pandemic. When we first started, when the center first closed, I had a moment, quite a few days of panic, where I was like, we have no location. My workers in my kitchen, I don't know if they're coming back. Where am I selling pops out of? Logistics are big, right? So even when we first started, logistics were big. So what ended up happening? So let me give you the background of the story. It must be 9 years ago, right? So we're struggling. SBH is helping us out, put it that way. And I have no shame. I have no shame. We all help, and sometimes we need help, and sometimes we need to take, and it's the way it is. It's okay. No shame. And so, you know, okay, I remember it was a Friday, And whatever, I had a close eye on whatever money I had. I knew what I had. It wasn't like I had that much that I didn't know. And I knew we had like close to $2,000 in our account. So for us, that was big. That was my rent. That was my rent. I felt secure, and it was like a little bit off my back. I go to the bank to take money out, maybe for my day worker, right? So because even then, I needed a day worker a few days a week, 2 days a week, whatever it was. I was working, and I had a very good friend who gave me very good advice. You need to have some help. Like, even when you're being helped, know that you have to have help in order to help yourself. And so I think I was going to get money for my day worker, and I go to the bank and I put in my card, and I know it's there, and it says insufficient funds. And I'm like, insufficient funds? What do you mean insufficient? I go to the teller. Turns out my mother's waiting in the car for me, mind you, because I was like, I'm running in to get money. I'll be right back. And I go to the teller, and it turns out we were scammed. And I'm not even going to go into the details of the scam. But we were scammed through Western Union. Okay? Suffice it to say, I got to the car weeping because the teller was like, sorry, it's not here. And I'm not pulling it out of my drawer to give it to you. So have a nice day. Crying. I go to my car. I'm hysterical. I'm shaking. My mother is like calming me down. She was so good at that. And we were scammed. We were scammed out of like $1,600. And whatever, it was something you don't forget. You know, you don't forget when you get scammed out of everything you have in your pocket. And so comes this pandemic, comes the week that I'm nervous. I don't know what's going to be. And I go to the mailbox. I take out my mail, and I see, so how many times do you get something in the mail, right, where you're part of a class action suit? You open it up, sketch. You got 73 cents, you know, you won 73 cents from this class action suit. Here's your check. I actually wrote a check for that amount of money. So I open it up, and I'm not thinking. And I open up the check, and it says $1,599. And I went, no way. Mind you, I killed Gary. Like I'm definitely the more passionate, emotional one in the marriage. Thank God there's not two of us. And I called him up right away, like apologizing. 10 years later, I go, you cannot believe what we got in the mail. You will not believe they gave us back our money. Like it was a very hard time to recoup that kind of money. I mean, it was a very hard time to recoup that.
And
that was why I started my business. It happened now. It was like a kiss from Hashem. You know, when Hashem gives you a kiss, you know, when he's like here, right in your face. It was like so special. And whatever, I don't know, I felt the need to go on to Instagram and share the story because what else was I doing at the moment? My store wasn't open yet. So
now you're selling your pops from home. You're on Instagram.
So now I'm selling my pops from home. The minute the clock hits 4 a.m., I turn into a psycho wife every night. Like, we can't get to 4 a.m. If I get to 4 a.m. and I'm still in my kitchen with buckets high full of stuff and we're working late. I'm pregnant with my son. I am not sleeping. Fridays are an insane day, packing up, but you know, we're going with it. And we kept going. And then we did our first deal summer delivery. That was a big milestone for us. Like our first, when everyone went to deal, I was still in Brooklyn. Are you going to be delivering to deal, right? And we delivered great that summer. It was just happened to be, Gary was still working. And, you know, when you're not financially stable, you're afraid to let go of any financial input you're getting, any income. I wouldn't quit my job at Circa. I was working, I wouldn't quit. And Gary and I were back and forth, and, you know, he wanted to quit. We talked about him leaving, but we just couldn't do it because it was an income. And one Saturday night, he comes and he tells me, I have to tell you something. I go, what? He goes, Friday, my boss let me go. And I was like, really? You know, like, okay, Hashem made the decision for us. You know, like we couldn't do it. So we really couldn't do it. It's not something I'm not that type. I'm the type of person that will work. I don't let go of that. So whatever it was a big work out of need situation, but you have to use your skills to drive yourself through that. So I did.
Great husband, very supportive, and great wife, very
Thank
encouraging.
God. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. You need a good partner.
So now you're selling, and now you have Gary by your side.
Now we're selling. Gary's by my side, which took some adjusting. Okay, working with your spouse full time for him and for me takes adjusting. I mean, over the years, we've come to find our roles and know that we don't always have to be, you know, we're not on top of each other. Except he's over there.
Hi, Gary.
He's laughing. Say hi.
Hi, ladies.
But, you know, we worked together and I started hiring help. Again, thanks to I don't know how much help I had at the time yet. I think I was still doing a lot on my own. It took me a long time to hire help in my kitchen, like in my home. So it was really me and Gary for a long, long time. Let's see, after I gave birth to my son, I gave birth to him June 28th, which was the day of our first deal delivery. So Gary I gave birth at 6 a.m. and then he went, bye. Okay, baby's very cute. All right, I gotta go. I have to go make the deliveries to deal Friday. Yeah, the car, that was a day. That was a big day. But whatever, he was busy, but he was happy. We had a son and we had a busy, successful day. And right after that, I hired somebody to come in and help. I got back to work 2 weeks later and kept going because you know what? You have an opportunity of a season or you have an opportunity of a holiday or whatever it is that your opportunity is, that is when you work. And I really, nothing stopped me. All right. I had a baby. Okay. Thank God I had my mother. God bless her. She was unbelievable. She came, she would sit, she'd be with the baby. She'd let me do my thing. And all summer long we worked. And then now comes holiday. Oh, before the summer, we did our first Passover. Okay. We did our first Passover. And a big deal to make kosher Passover dessert, right? I remember at the end of Pesach, we're sitting down, the night Pesach ends, and we're sitting and we're calculating what we did because we didn't have time to calculate. We didn't have time to sitting. You know, and my father always taught us, don't count. You know, like wait as long as you can to count. So you're not supposed, something about not supposed to be counting your money too quickly. So we were always in that head of, we waited till the end of the holiday and we counted. And it wasn't this enormous money compared to today. What was it? What are you saying? No, was it really? Oh, wow, that's a big number. Okay, it's still a good number. Quite a few $1,000s in business, but for us, it was like, oh my gosh. You have to understand, in November, right? So that's Passover. In November, when I was working and I called up my husband and I said to him, I made $300 this week. Like I covered us for, like there was something we needed covering for and it covered. And I was like, I sold 300,000 pops this week. And remember, somebody made a funny comment to him and they laughed at him. He shared it with somebody and they went, oh yeah, I'm going to tell my wife to open up a pop business and support the family. Oh, like he really like made fun of him. And we never forgot it because it was like, it was really not the nicest comment to make to somebody who, you know, really every dollar counts, right?
Wow.
You know? And so you have to consider when we hit Pesach that year, it was unbelievable. So we really just kept riding the wave. There would be nights where it would be Thursday nights would be my packing night. Everybody's orders would be in by, you know, they'd still be texting Baruch Hashem. And I would be packing my orders and I'd be tallying my orders and I'd go, oh my gosh, I'm oversold on chocolate dip strawberry by like 150 pieces. And so Gary would be like, okay, so don't give them chocolate dip strawberry. And I was like, no. At that point, we figured out how to utilize dry ice. So I said to him, go to the dry ice guy, go get me dry ice, and we're going to make the pops tonight. And he'd be like, but we have to pack the pops. You know, he was very like, let's be like logical here, Sophia. And I'd be like, no, it's going to take me 2 minutes. I'm going to blend it. We're going to put it in the dry ice. We'll freeze them in 40 minutes.
3 hours later.
3 hours later. And he would, you know, he went with it. He went with it. God bless him. He went with my craziness. And we would make those pops and we would fill the orders. It was very important to me to fill the orders. And that was how it went for quite a while. I think the next big deal was did the center shop open before the deal? No, Deal was the first shop. Deal. We opened up Jersey. Somebody, Brooklyn Diamond called me up and she said, I'm opening up a store in Allenhurst, right? I was living in Brooklyn still. I didn't go to Deal for the summer. And I'm opening up a store in Allenhurst. Do you want to be a concession? Right, so a lot of you remember my first shop where Paper Moon is now. And
Yes.
that was the hardest decision to make. I actually, for the first time in my life, experienced major anxiety, stomach pains. I couldn't decide what to do. My father was like, honey, come on, we'll do it. Like, what's happening? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? You checked out. I was petrified to make that big decision. Would we be able to make enough? How would we run the store from Brooklyn? You know, like, how would we transport the stuff? How are we going to do this? We're not in Deal. It's not like I was in Deal. My sister jumped in again. God bless her. She helped us. And we opened the store in Deal, and it was definitely a learning process. It was the most incredible summer. It was so fun. People were so excited. It was fun to be a part of something so new, right? Like, it was, we never had pops, all right? Baruch Hashem, I'm proud to say that our community eats this dessert regularly now, and it's like, you know, in their back pocket at this point. But back then, people were really clamoring to get in, and I would go. We would take turns driving, going in. Gary would mostly go, but I loved to go. I loved to be behind the case. I loved all the kids coming in after camp on their bikes, and it was such a commotion, and sitting outside, and oh my gosh, everything changed.
Certification to open? Did you have to have hashgacha?
We had the time. We had Rabbi Shwai. So a lot of things kind of happened backwards, right? You know, so another big thing I was petrified of was like Department of Health, Department of Agriculture, to be quite honest with you at the time.
Right.
That wasn't a factor. And it was a big, huge cloud in my mind. It was, I was like, there's no way. How are we going to do this? And I don't really know how we did it, but we did. I didn't have Department of Agriculture approval at the time. Gary would walk in at 1 a.m. from Deal, and I would just be putting the last molds in the freezer that I can handle on my own, because I was alone. I had a worker at that point, but she would leave. I'd beg her to stay, but she would leave, and I would be putting. I would also I would pull in my neighbors, the kids, anyone that would help me, honestly. And because I had to make, what we realized was that I needed to make a lot of stock to stock the summer shop. And it was, oh yeah, we used to have to close. We used to have to close on Tuesdays, or, well, we're closing today to replenish. We had to close to replenish. There was nothing we could do. I didn't have anything left. And we closed to replenish, right? I remember that. And Gary would walk in 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whatever time, whenever he finished, he would eat his tuna sandwich on the way home. He was starving, and it was a wonderful, incredible start. And then let's see, so that we had our store. Did the center happen then? Center happened after? Were we still working out of the house? No, we had 1 year out of the house. And then you, Gladys, you were the best. You
Yeah.
reached out to me and you said, what do you think about something about, what do you think about being in the center? Like you brought it up. It was you. I was like, oh, wow, Glad. I haven't spoken to you in ages. You were my counselor, but okay.
I was your counselor.
You were my counselor. You were a great counselor.
Thank you.
And always full of cheer. So you actually were, I'm probably foggy on the timeline there, but you called me, it was springtime, and we started we bought a cart. Right, we had our cart.
Yeah, cart
We had our cart.
in the front. In the
We had our cart. Where, you know where we stored our cart? We stored our cart in our garage. I was still working out of my house, right? My house, I only moved into my kitchen, how many years ago? 4 years ago? 4.5 years, feels like forever. But I had my cart and we brought the cart and we were selling in the center and the lines, and it was all these changes were not so easy. I'm not the best with change personally, but we took the steps. You have to not be afraid to take the steps.
It's a testament to you. We were selfish. We knew that you were a draw for the kids. So
It was great. It was great. We started out only on Fridays. It was Fridays, then it was Fridays and Sundays, Sunday program. Then we moved into that little nook. Then we moved across the way from the nook to where we are now. And I'll tell you something, would not be where we are without the center. This community that I had not been in the building. I had not been in the building for years, right? I grew up in the center, but I had not been in the center for years at that point. Maybe I put my kids in, but it wasn't like I was in and out and in and out and in and out. And I think for a short while, I forgot what that building meant. And recently I was saying to Gary, we would not be running our lives the way we are, living our lives right now without that. Okay, I could have opened up a store, but consider, I sell one item, I sell pops, right? It's not so easy for an ice cream store to stay above in the winter, It's not. You could be a smaller ice cream store, you could open up a store, and the winter could kill you. I mean, you have to be carvel to stay open. And so luckily for me, I had our community, and I had this amazing building, and I had in and out, and I had it really hakarat hatov to you, hakarat hatov to the center and our community, because I may be doing the work, but if our community did not support my business, then you're only where you are with the help of certain things. Like if you don't have staff, you have to have staff, you have to be appreciative of the people that work for you, and you have to be appreciative of the people that support you. So we definitely are.
It's an amazing lesson to know where we live, and the network, not only of our family, which you said is important, but to know the network of this community and the potential, each individual to grow. It's really for everyone listening. Just if you're thinking about doing something, do it, because you already have a head start. You have us.
The network. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think more and more these days, the community members want to support each other. I think we all realize, like I needed to order mixing bowls the other night, and I was about to log on to Amazon. And instead I texted Kitchen Caboodles and I was like, I need mixing bowls. We all want to support each other. And I think that this whole pandemic, even more so, we want to help out each other. We want to be there for each other. It's who we are. And I think that's a beautiful thing that's coming out of everybody now, always.
So you didn't stop at just the center. From the center, you branched out.
Right. No. Yeah. So even before the center, we were doing, so that period, there was a period where we started delivering, right? We were delivering to the 5 towns. That had started right after the summer store. right after the summer store, I had one customer in the 5 towns who called me up, and they were doing a bar mitzvah. It was a bat mitzvah, very big bat mitzvah.
Great idea.
And they were like, we want to bring you. I go, they go, we're going to bring your entire situation. And they paid everything it took. And at the time, logistics, right? We didn't know those logistics. We didn't have those logistics worked out. They brought my entire case from deal, and it was such an incredible event. And from there, I started delivering into the 5 towns, right? So that was another big community, right? You have to branch out. I definitely credit the Syrian community for knowing how to start things. And then,
Absolutely.
we are ahead of the game.
We are.
But as a community, but then branching out. So we started delivering to the 5 towns. We started delivering to Queens. Actually, Gary started delivering to the 5 towns. Gary started delivering to Queens. Then we found a connection in Muncie. Somebody was like willing to pick up all our orders every week. We still have the same guy from Muncie. Okay.
Wow.
He ended up becoming one of our best friends, him and his wife, the nicest people. And he would come in every Friday morning to be by Rabbi Mansour's shul. He still does, Be'ezrat Hashem, when it opens. And every week he would just put our stuff in the trunk and people would pick up. It's just an easy, sometimes having a big brick and mortar, not always, it's a lot of overhead. It's a lot, retail is a lot, staffing is a lot of mental work. And that's it's just very easy for us to service all of our customers there, and they're cool with it. So we are too. And then now then we started learning how to ship. Oh, then we moved into our kitchen. After we moved into our kitchen, and of course Hashem gave me a good manager. That was also a very hard change. We got in with the Department of Agriculture. Somebody shared with me a very key person to help me streamline how to what I need to do in order to get approved by Department of Agriculture. What did you say? Oh, and Gary did everything.
She made sure to tell you that. Okay. Gary,
what would you say? He didn't hear you.
we're going to give Gary a medal.
Gary laughs sometimes because I get interviewed, but right, I'm the creative, I'm the face, I'm the advertising and the eating. But Gary is okay, you want to open up a store in Lakewood? I'm going to do it. He's the one that actually does all the things, all the crazy ideas that I come up with. He's the one that actually makes it so that I can do it.
Wow.
So you have to be a team. I'm artsy and I'm creative and I'm a chatty person. I love my customers. You know my life if you're with me for this many years. But he definitely made things happen. But at the time, we opened up our kitchen. We got in with Department of Agriculture. Through who was it? Who gave us the contact? Juice Bar Julie's son, right? So he, what's his name? Alan. He gave me the name of a guy to call. He goes, call this guy. He's going to help you get streamlined with Department of Agriculture. That was a big thing. Like the network in the community, there's people around to help you, even if it's just giving you a name. Right? So you can't be afraid to ask for help.
If anybody on this Zoom is looking to go into the food industry, would you say, because you say you work backwards, but would you recommend now that they do the, all those steps, the necessary steps, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Health?
You know what? I started in with no investment. There was no investment. So what did I have to lose? Sometimes I feel like if you don't have the money to invest in a business and you're afraid because it's going to eat your insides out to put money into something, if you can figure out a way to start small and build something exciting, right? And not that I'm comparing myself, although that would be nice one day, but look at DoorDash, right? What did they do? They advertised before they even had the product. They advertised before they even had the sales. They worked backwards. They started in a different way. And I think that that's like a smart thing to do if you are afraid or you don't have the money, or, you know, it's okay to maneuver. That's what we do. We maneuver. So although I think it's a case by case basis. I mean, if you're not going to be able to do it at all, but I'm saying if you can start to try to build a following and build a need and build an excitement about something, it's not like you're going on Shark Tank. I wouldn't suggest going on Shark Tank, although that would be nice.
You wouldn't suggest going on what?
I said I wouldn't suggest going on Shark Tank without having everything set up, but, you know, going into the community and letting everybody help you grow is our business grew so organically.
Right. So, by the way, did you ever think of making yourself a franchise? You're branching and you're branching and you're branching. Did that ever occur?
We actually, I think we're more working on going the wholesale route because, I mean, ask our husbands. Retail is not an easy thing to manage. It's exhausting. It takes it eats you inside, and the wholesale route would be is something that we're actually exploring.
Great idea.
In the way of, I mean, my dream is really at this point to make ice creams, right? I think we've mastered the dairy-free ice cream market in a way. I don't think anything we eat compares to what we make. I'm very proud of the product.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't eat it on camera, just sketch. I
Right.
love it.
Right. So would that mean
So,
eventually, and then I want to get to today, to the current situation, but would that mean ultimately you'll work on because this was asked prior to our Zoom, is if you ever thought to make nutrition labels, nutrition facts?
yes, it'd be along with nutrition facts. I'd like to find when you're co-packing, right? So it would require co-packing afterwards. I'm starting out to make it on our own and then co-packing in the future. When you're co-packing, you have the ability, and this is through all the research that we've done, to have access to people that are like food scientists, not just to figure out the nutritional value, but to really tweak and perfect the formula. And I over the years have done my best to lower my sugar. Not that it was so much, but my palate was sweet. My palate is not candy sweet, but my palate is sweet. And I know that there are certain places where I could lower my sugar. I can use I would love to, start to use maybe a better sweetener, but always staying true to high quality ingredients, fresh fruit, the best chocolate, because a lot of chocolate based, right? A plant-based, so that's all part of the idea of doing ice cream. Plant-based is hot now.
So God bless you. And now you've grown, we know you, you're a household name in many communities, not just the Sephardic community. And you're flying, and you said it several times on the Zoom alone, you just keep going, you just keep going. Well, guess what? Corona happens. And Corona sort of stopped everybody in their tracks.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
What say you? What is Urban Pops, how are you dealing with the situation?
Keep going, just keep going. Yeah, keep going. So we posted on our Instagram, right? The center closed. I knew we were talking about it for weeks when we were even talking about it in early February, Corona, the idea of it coming, and that the fact that the building would, once they were starting talking about schools, even a hint, I was like, the center may end up having to close for a little while. I mean, nobody thought it was going to be, right? Nobody thought it was going to be all this time. And we have to figure something out. It's going to be rounding right around Pesach, okay? My Pesach business is, we start planning for Pesach. God bless Gary. He starts planning for Pesach December, January, right? What flavors do we want to make? We have to make sure we have the ingredients that we need. We have to deal with now we're under the okay. We have to deal with our mashgiach. We have to deal with all of these little things just to make sure that it can go smoothly. And how early do we want to start? And Oh, and are we shipping to Orlando again this year? Of course we are, but you know, we have to put that into place. The Orlando shipping Pesach outlet is an incredible thing that we picked up on 2 years ago. Was I pregnant? I might have been pregnant. I was pregnant. 2 years ago, we picked up Orlando. That was a
Great idea.
something we very much look forward to. You know what? You got to hear your customers. So many Passovers, my customers would say, can you send it to Florida? Can you ship it? Are you delivering to Orlando? Orlando. The Orlando is a hub on Pesach like you would not believe. So 1 year, is it the year? It's the year my father passed away. It started talking to people about it, I would say, in March, right? And it's very late already to be having that conversation. And started trying to find out, what does it mean to go to Orlando? What are these places? What are these? Solterra, Champions Gate, these are all communities that people rent homes in Orlando. And they ship 80 boxes of food down from Moishi's or whatever supermarket, Pomegranate. Figuring out who to get in touch with was impossible. I called up men, please help me. I want to do this. How can you help me do this? One guy led me to another. And so we did Orlando, and Orlando was a huge thing. So you have to understand, when we come around Pesach, we have to project how much to make, what flavors sold well, start early, plan with my staff. I also have Pudim right behind it, which is also something that's become a business for me. So it's not like I could start too early. I don't have that much time. And then all of a sudden, in walks Corona. And then the center letting me know, they were so nice. They we want to let you know in advance. Let's talk about this. They were definitely sensitive to the fact that I was a business running out of the center. Again, I love our community, and they let us know. And I put a post looking for a place to work out of temporarily. And am I allowed to say it's okay? And I get a phone call from Elliot Simhon. You know what? Like, right, they use the word mensch, like Adami, like, just, I want you to have a space. I'm not using it now. It's across from Kosher Corner, like pushing me to take the space. Rent, no, we'll figure it out after. Just, can you do it? And I put Gary in touch, of course, and put, the work on him. And he gave us that temporary spot. And that's just another amazing, gorgeous thing. The guy is just another wonderful person to be involved with. My father always taught me, be involved with good people in business. You know what I mean? Like, that's the most important thing. When I was interviewing for Hillary, and there was another company I was interviewing for, and he went, "You're working for Hillary." And I went, "I'm working for Hillary." He goes, "You working for Hillary? These are good people. You work for good people, you'll be good. Trust me, honey." I go, "No, but the other place was offering me so much more money." He goes, "I don't care. And I ended up, they were wonderful. One fabulous working experience.
So then you moved to Elliot Simhon.
So then I moved to Elliot, and it was a very hard time to figure out. I also had staff. Now consider, so many components have to come together in order for things to happen, right? I make a product, and I don't make it myself anymore. I'm definitely involved in what you're eating, but I am not making every single pop. I definitely teach my staff how to build my pops as I go. Feedback, the almonds are too big, this needs to be chopped, it's a little too much caramel, a little this, but I've learned how to delegate, thank God. And so I have my staff in my kitchen, and that was a hard time. I at one point I had no one. And I looked at Gary and I went, okay, so then maybe now we go into the kitchen and we make what we can, and he was like, "How do you want to do that?" You have 6 kids. You want to work the midnight shift? I go, so what if we work the midnight shift? And he was like, okay, let's do that. And we were considering that for a while, where I was like, okay, it'll be back to old school, because I wouldn't turn down any business. You know what I mean? Like, at no point am I I'll take what I can get, right? A man is out of a job, and there's a job for $18 an hour, and he needs to put milk, bread, and eggs on the table. So that's what he has to do. And then that's what it is. I'm supporting my family. It's not, at one point, I'll tell you something I didn't really plan on saying, but whatever. At one point, I called up my old captain from SPH, right? So SPH invited me last summer to speak at a captain's meeting, right? My captain, who was now the head captain, and she's unbelievable, called me up and said, do you think you would speak at this event? I had no idea what I was going to speak at. She called me up in March, and I said, okay, anything to give back, anything I could do, no problem. She goes, I want you to tell us about your experience. And it was March, and it was one night in the middle of the night. I'm like, all right, I better just do this. I was on my phone, and I started typing in notes my thoughts, and I left it. And comes June, and she's like, okay, you ready for this event? And I go, I don't know. I'm trying to write something. I wrote something a few months ago. Let me read it to you. And I ended up reading it to her, and she loved it. And I ended up getting up. I didn't realize still what I was doing, that I was getting up in front of maybe 300 people. And these are the captains, the people that are helping the families. And I didn't realize I just didn't realize. And so I get up and I spoke, and I was very happy to speak. And I actually said to her, what would happen if I turned around and what would happen if I needed help again? Like, I'm always afraid. When you're one time afraid and you one time experience fear like that, it doesn't exactly just go away. You hear about families in the community that, without knowing their names even, but just knowing that there are families in the community who their businesses collapsed, and what happened, there's always a fear. Can't let your fear drive you. You need support and people to help you get through that fear. But so I had asked her that in the summer, and she was like, so you call me up? Like, okay, I thought, because I'm always afraid. I thought I was out of that stage. So when this pandemic first started, she was my first phone call. I called her up.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm afraid. I'm scared. I don't live paycheck to paycheck anymore, but I don't have money sitting in my bank. I live 2 months to 2 months. Like every two, like that's my support. It's supporting my rent, my life, my children, my school. I mean, I have, Baruch Hashem, a nice sized brood of children. Thank God. So, she kind of helped me organize my thoughts. I told her what was going on, the temporary spot. I don't know if I have staff in my kitchen, coming up with ideas. And then she goes, okay, go, take it easy and do what you can and get in touch with me. Like I really automatically went right back to her. I called her up very quickly. So, for the people that are listening out there, I think everybody feels that way. Not that it should comfort you, but you should know that people are struggling, and then we get through it. And we should know that we have support, and we know that we'll get through it. And knowing that other people are also going through it, it sort of kind of settles you a little bit too. So I'm very forthcoming, and I'm very honest about all of that. But I got 3 workers to end up coming to work, right? My 3 least connected to people workers. 2 lived together, and 1 lived with her boyfriend, who was not working. And this is in my kitchen, not my store. And they were willing to come to work, and I was very appreciative. And I had a staff, okay? I had a staff, thank God I had a staff. And we made a much smaller amount, considering there's no Orlando deliveries, and there's no, we know I can only make so much. I have so much people to work. I don't have 6, 7, 8 people working round the clock, literally. I don't have night shifts. I don't have, so be satisfied with what I was going to get. And I went with it. I also had no staff in my stores. So what ended up having to happen was all of the ordering had to come through me. So then you might say, well, why didn't you hire someone to deal with the ordering? And it's just a lot of specifics and a lot of, I'm not interested in any mess ups. I feel like I'm a little bit, I guess you could say I'm a little controlling, just a little.
You needed to be present. You needed to be very hands-on, especially.
We moved my system, my ordering system, to my dining room table. And I had a system in my phone with how I would deal with orders. And I would enter orders every night over Passover, this past Passover, the week before, till 3 o'clock in the morning, every night. I was exhausted. I did not oversee my children's Zoom and schooling. I was just like, I had to make a choice.
I'm happy you brought that up. I want to ask you about that. Being a mother through all of this.
Can I cut you off for 1 minute? Sorry. I just want to let you know that we hit 1 hour, so if we could get through all the questions and try to get through them quickly so that we could have time at the end for questions.
So
I'm sorry.
My last question is about motherhood. We're mothers, and you know how you handling this. So you didn't oversee their Zoom.
I didn't oversee their Zoom. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning. They really had to understand that I was just like, I'm not here. Don't even go to daddy. Go to your sister. I had to, you know what? Now that was the time where it was like school or you're living. And it was like a very clear, it was like, okay.
Decision.
Yeah, it's a decision. And I think a lot of people have to make that decision. I think we are putting a lot of pressure on ourselves as mothers, keeping up with, I have a lot of kids that need help with their Zooming and their schooling, and I have the kids that are doing it on their own, and easy.
Do you feel guilty at all?
Yeah, of course, right? Don't we all feel guilty? I'm definitely not covering every base.
Right.
But whatever, the school psychologist called me up the other day, and it was right back to Zoom. I think it was Tuesday, right? When we got back to Zooming, right? Last week. And I was, forget it, overwhelmed with work and with the house and with the kids that all needed me on their Zooms. And she calls me up. Hi, Sophia, it's Bashi. How are you doing? And I started hysterical, crying. I'm not doing well. I'm petrified of what's going on with school. Well, I have one of my kids needs extra help, and all of the strides that we made, I was worried that we fell back. You know, but you really have to accept what you're doing and know that you're doing right. Who doesn't remember their mother telling them, I'm doing my best, right? I remember when I was a teenager and being like demanding on my mother, and she'd be like, honey, I'm doing my absolute best. Whatever I can do, I'm doing. You should know that I'm doing my best. You know, like we always feel like we need to kind of explain ourselves.
Right.
And I'm doing my best. It's my capacity.
So now I want to open up to Julie. I'm going to be quiet. Julie, do you have any questions that people of Zoom want to ask?
Sorry about that. So someone in Karen Shore said, how do we place an order to be shipped?
That's Gary, a shipping order around the country. We don't ship small orders. We ship larger orders. We shipped a lot of orders for events, weddings, engagement parties, bar mitzvahs, all of that. So a lot of communities, what they end up doing is they end up being with each other and organizing their orders, and then we ship that big order out. But,
so where would they ship? How would they find the information?
They reach out. They reach out to us. They reach out directly. Shipping orders. I would love to get to the point where I can ship a smaller order, right? I could ship a bucket and it'll cost you $17 to ship, but you have to factor in you have to factor in the fact that I needed to get it to you quick, right? So a juice that you would ship, someone would ship you a juice, it doesn't need to get to you fully frozen. If you get my pop in the form of a juice, you're not,
Refund.
you're not happy. It has to come pristine and perfect. We've perfected shipping. It's just we generally ship larger orders. And it's an awesome thing that we do. We ship, God bless you, Gary. We ship to California, we ship to Miami, we ship to everywhere, Baltimore.
It has to be a large.
everywhere.
Okay, what's another question, Julie? Do you have?
Yeah, so Renee Braha said, how do you think of all the flavors? What inspires you?
Anything, it could come in the form of a soap, right? Cucumber watermelon. People will suggest things to us a lot, or something that we've eaten. Thinking about the flavor is not the problem. It's how to build it, right? So all of these flavors that we make for you, when I first made s'mores, it took me a year to figure out how to make s'mores. I used to think I should burn it on the outside. I was dying to make s'mores, but then that idea really just came mishamayim. I have a lot of connection to Hashem. He gives me my ideas when I need them, but the idea of the flavor comes from everyone and everywhere. Everyone gives
Any
us
other questions, Julie?
Anyone else have any questions? You could unmute yourself if you have a question.
Hi, everyone.
Anyone else?
I thought this was a lovely, very thought-provoking. Sophia, would you be available if people have questions afterwards? How would they be able to ask you? You know, sometimes they.
Yeah, I have. Whenever people are, I help out a lot of people. Anybody that reaches out to me, I'm happy to help them. I love it when people call me asking me questions. I do the best, I give them the guidance I would give myself.
Right. Are there any other questions, Julie, or?
There's one question someone asked. Give me a minute.
Michelle Gindi saying you're incredibly inspiring. She's watching for you, not me.
Someone just asked, I'm not sure if I missed it, but how did you start your business besides for the advice from your husband? For example, trademarks, etc. Did you get a lawyer for advice?
Yes, we did. Yes, we got a lawyer. No, we got it for copyright, right? For the name. The name doesn't have a thing. Our name is registered. You don't have a lawyer? Oh, Gary. No, we had to copyright the name. There is another Urban Pops in Alabama that came up after us, but whatever. Nothing I'm gonna do about it. Yeah.
Someone's asking what your first flavor was. I think it was lemon, you said, right?
Yeah, limonana.
Limonana.
Yeah.
What's your
Yeah,
number one color?
Number one flavor? Number one flavor. What's our number one flavor? You would know. S'mores? S'mores. It's good to know, right?
It is. It's great to know.
No, and you know what I loved seeing over the years? That like all of a sudden, like I remember when we first did Almond Joy, then there was a lot of Almond Joy. And it was very nice. There was Almond Joy cakes, there was Almond Joy this. And it felt really good to be recognized.
Yeah.
Feel free to take my ideas, and it's a nice feeling to be recognized that it's a good idea, or it's creative, people love it, and we love that. We love people's appreciation of our stuff. We really do. It makes a big still we need it.
Julie, anybody else?
I think that's it for now. So you got a lot of good feedback. A lot of people are saying thank you. You're amazing, inspiring. Thank you for Gladys and Sophia. You guys are amazing, great. Sophia, thank you for all your advice and inspiring all of these women to keep going, and hopefully we'll be all done with this pandemic soon and everything back to normal. Thank
Julie,
you.
If anybody wanted.
Yes, we have the recording. We'll send it out. We'll send it out on Instagram, and whoever, my number's on the flyer. Whoever whoever wants the recording. So I could
Okay.
always send it out. All
Have a
right.
good night, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy. Sophia,
Night. Thank you for having me.
inspired us. We love you.
Thank you, Sophia and
Thank you,
Gladys.
Sophie. Thank you, Gladys.
My
Have
pleasure.
a good night.
Thank
Thank you.